Hi guys, my name is Lebo and I am a spiritual guide. I talk about life, relationships and spirituality, things that we need to unpack in order for us to go back to our authentic selves. If you are new on my channel, thank you so much. You are so welcome. Please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button so that you get reminders every time I upload my videos. I just want to talk about this very sensitive subject that we have been seeing. It's been trending all over social media. It's making news globally, and I think it's about time we spend a lot of time dissecting what the issue is, analyzing what the issue is, so we can find out what the root cause of this issue is. Let's talk about Lawrence and the many other Lawrences who are out there, who are unaliving women, who are unaliving children, and let's get to the crux of what causes this behavior in men. What causes men to eventually hate women to the point where they want to unalive them? We already know that when it comes to men, men are not very vocal when it comes to what they are experiencing, what they are going through. And you never really get to have a sense of what happens in the minds of men because men don't talk about their problems. So when I looked into the issue of what could possibly lead men to hate women the way they do, it took me back to what could have happened in their childhood when they were a lot younger, when they didn't have a voice for themselves and couldn't speak up for themselves, right? And I was able to class different categories of men because the men who are committing these heinous crimes are not the same. They all have different reasons and they all have different backgrounds, and their reasons are shaped by circumstances in their personal lives which would eventually lead them to commit this crime, right? And I wanted to give you a brief overview of who these men are, and later on I will delve into going deeper into each category of men so that we don't mix issues and we don't actually end up confusing issues, right? And just to give you an overview, these are some of the categories of men who hate women, right? And they hate women based on what they experienced at the hands of women. No man or no woman was born hating another human being. It was never like that. It has never been like that. And it will never be like that. Most of us carry hatred. Most of us carry bitterness towards the other gender based on what we have experienced at the hands of that particular gender, right? Even similarly to women, when they speak about hating men, it is usually influenced by what they would have experienced at the hands of men. And that one particular man who, causes harm to a woman eventually becomes a representation of all men. Similarly to men, if a man experiences hatred, if a man experiences some sort of hurt from a woman, that anger or that experience could then culminate into a representation of who and what women are. So it's very clear that sometimes when we are speaking from a place of hurt and not a place of healing, it is easy for us to say all men are the same. It is easy for us to say all women are the same, right? So let's pause that for a little bit and then let's delve into the categories of men that hate women and could potentially end up unaliving these women. We are talking about men who were raised by single mothers, men who were rejected by women for being poor. We are talking about men who have mental health issues. We are talking about men who want to repair their bloodline by stealing from women who are from bloodlines which are rich in wealth. We are talking about boys who were molested by women from an early age, and we are talking about boys who were forced to sleep with women when they were very young. And these would be instances where these women broke the virginity of men without their consent or without these men knowing what they were actually doing. And some of them are actually men who were hurt by women and are now out for revenge. And the list goes on and on and on, and we can touch on it a little bit later on. So I just want to first start with delving into men who are raised by single mothers and give you a scenario of what could actually build up this anger and this bitterness towards women. Now imagine a young boy who is raised by their mother and they are going to the mall, right? When they go to the mall, the boy wants to go to the bathroom, but here's now where it gets tricky. When they go to the bathroom, this young boy sees another young boy who is, in the same age group as him, going into the bathroom with his father. And they are going into a male's bathroom, and he has to go into the bathroom with his own mother. Some instances you'll get these young boys wishing they could actually go into the male bathrooms, but the mother wouldn't be able to, allow their child to go into the male bathroom because obviously they are not under supervision, and they cannot go into the bathroom with these men, right? So what eventually happens is, in the mind of a boy who is raised by a single mother, this can cause some sort of conflict, an internal conflict, where they would want to have that kind of experience with their father. But because their father is not there, they are in a way deprived of experiencing that masculine energy from their father. And most mothers will not understand what happens in the minds of these young boys because they are doing the best that they can to raise their boys in the best way they know how. So in this instance, you get a situation where a boy wishes a father could give them that kind of experience which other boys are able to experience at the hands of their own fathers. But you get a situation where the father is raised by a single mother who may not necessarily understand why it is crucial and important for this boy to have an experience of actually going into the male bathroom. And as they get older, without having an experience of what actually goes on in the male bathroom, because remember, in the male bathrooms, the system in those bathrooms are way different to what women have in their own bathrooms. But you get a little boy who is then deprived of experiencing what other men are experiencing, right? And what ends up causing a lot more anger in these boy children who end up growing up to seek validation from their peers outside of their homes is that you also get a situation where we are talking about male circumcision, right? Where the mother will decide on behalf of the boy child that the boy child should then get circumcised. And because the boy child is not able to speak for themselves at that particular age, you get a mother who then makes this decision on behalf of the child based on health reasons and what they would have been advised by doctors. And these mothers make these decisions for their boy children. So what ends up happening is the boy child ends up growing as if they were deprived of having a choice. They were deprived of having making a decision, but they were equally deprived of having a father who could talk to them and explain what that process is and why it is essential and why it is necessary for a boy child to go through that. And some children, especially in Black cultures, would actually want to go through that process through de-initiation schools, where their fathers are actually taking them through that process in order for these boy children to become men. So what eventually happens is they grow up very resentful towards their mothers, but they can't express that hatred and their anger towards their own mothers, and they actually rebel by punishing women in the street for what their mothers did to them. But they are unable to recognize that that is a wound that was created by their mother, and they end up punishing women in the street for what their own mothers did to them. And their mothers are still not aware that these boy children have these kind of wounds where they actually wish things could have been done different. And we know in some instances that these boys will ask their mothers where their fathers are, and mothers are not able to give their children that information. Mothers are not able to share that information with their children, which further causes the wound to cut deeper. Now, the reason that the wound would cut deeper is that you have boy children who end up growing up without an identity because they don't know their paternal side of the family. And if you have a boy child growing without an identity, they will seek or find identity somewhere in the street, because sometimes the street is what ends up making these boys to feel validated, to feel appreciated, and to feel loved. But when it comes to a situation of women, they are unable to relate with women. They love women, they would want to eventually become women, but there will always be something that triggers them about these women they date, which then eventually causes these men to punish these women by either abusing them, swearing at them, or eventually unaliving them if these women make them upset, because they are carrying those wounds from their childhood, which should have been healed. Now, is it correct to unalive someone? No, it is not. They do it because they are unable to regulate their emotions. They do it because they have not been taught how to handle rejection. They have not been taught how to handle anger, and they have not been taught how to effectively coexist with women. existed with women in a proper, healthy, and sound way. Part 2 coming up.